Morning Rebels, it's that time of the month again, the time when Lucienne and I talk about what we've been reading and what we recommend. That's right, it's time for Rebel Reads.
10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, and 100% reason to remember the name.
Today's Rebel Reads are not going to be the happy feel-good books of the century, but they are going to be wonderful, suspenseful, gritty, intense reads. My first choice is Unwind by Neal Shusterman. And the idea behind this book is that there has been a new council on reproductive rights and a new law made. And what it is you cannot end a life. Life is inviolable until age 13. And once a child hits 13, from the ages of 13 to 18, they can be unwound. Now, they don't call it killing. What they call it is a divided soul, where every part of the child is used for transplant, skin, cornea, organs. And it's really twisted, which means that if you're a child who's out of control, or you're a ward of the state and the group homes are overflowing, if your family wants to tithe to the church, you could be unwound. And that is what's happening with the three main characters in this book. They have been signed over to be unwound. And once the paperwork is signed, it cannot be unsigned. There's no second thought. And they escape, one unwillingly. And it's really about their journey and their attempt to not be unwound. And it's really fascinating. You see all angles of all issues, and it's just dark and intense. And every time you might think you know where the book goes, it's going to take a dog leg. It is not a comfortable read, but it is really an amazing read and one of the most unique worlds and the most unique concepts that I've read in a long time. So I highly recommend it.
Okay, for my first pick, I decided to pick a sci-fi book because I really like sci-fi, and I just recently read this one, and also I just found out that very soon it's going to be made into a movie, which is so exciting. It's called Unremembered, and it's by Jessica Brody, who I had the pleasure of touring with last month. And let me tell you, this book is intense and fun. It's basically about a girl who wakes up in the middle of plane wreckage as the sole survivor of an airplane crash, only she doesn't know who she is, and she's nowhere on the passenger manifest. So there's this whole mystery surrounding why was she on the plane? Was she on the plane at all? How did she end up in the wreckage if not? And who is this? Who is she? So she goes on this journey to find out who she is, and the book is just really intense and really fun. And I have 5 good reasons for why I like it. Okay, reason 1 is because I'm a sucker for the Shakespearean sonnet that Brody uses throughout the book. I actually use this particular sonnet in my wedding program when I got married because I love it so much. So I really connected with that and how it works into the romance of the book. I also really, really love one of the side characters, Cody. I have a special place in my heart for him. I think he's hilariously funny. And I haven't read the second book, but I'm hoping he's in it because for me, he was just like this great foil to the main character. And, you know, he kept you laughing in all of the serious parts, which was great. He was like a tension reliever. All right, my third reason for liking this book is there are evil scientists and there is time travel. Enough said. You know, I also felt like this book was really fast-paced and intense. The chapters are so short that I found myself saying, okay, I'm just going to read one more chapter and then I'll stop for the night. And I'd read one more chapter and I'm like, well, the next chapter's kind of short and I really want to know what's going on, so I'll just read one more chapter. And I did that all night long until I finished the book in one sitting because I was so into what was happening and because I could convince myself to keep going the whole night. There was no reason to stop. All the chapters were short, they were fast-paced, and I just had to know what was going on. And lastly, the main character, Serafina, is really unique and interesting. She doesn't remember anything. I mean, about our world, about who she is. And so I really liked that she was kind of this blank canvas that she was trying to fill in every part of her and figure out who she was and who to trust. And that was really interesting. And the chemistry she has with Zen, sort of this mysterious, sexy boy, was really intense and wonderful. And so I was really rooting for them throughout the whole book. Jessica did a great job with those 2 characters. And that's Unremembered. If you haven't picked it up, you should. There's already another book out, and then the 3rd book is coming out very, very soon. So you should really get started on the series, especially now that it will be in theaters. So I'm excited to see how that plays out because it will make a great movie. The book was very cinematic when I read it. So get started on that one.
My second Rebel read is The Killing Woods by Lucy Christopher. I read this in England when I was there for the London Book Fair, and it's actually set in England, and so the voice and everything while I was there was just a sort of an added bonus. But this is a brilliant dark novel. The main character, her father has post-traumatic stress disorder, and when she goes to find him in the woods where he's more comfortable these days, she sees him with a body, and at first she thinks it's the body of a deer, and comes to realize that the body in his arms is that of a girl. And everybody thinks that he's killed her in one of his flashbacks, and he himself doesn't know what's happened, and he confesses to the murder. So it's really all about her and her being the last person who really believes in her father and even starting to doubt, and possibly some other kids who were in the woods when this girl disappeared and what they may or may not know about that night as well, one boy in particular. So it really is a wonderful novel. If you've read The Secret History by Donna Tartt, which was a wonderful book, this is for you. I kind of think of this as having that same tone and that same peeling back the truth about what really happened. And I would say this is The Secret History for young adults, but I would say advanced young adults or adults. It's really a great suspenseful book that I could not put down and would recommend to all of you.
All right, for my second pick, I went fantasy and adventure, and I picked another one of my YA Chick Tour buddies, and that is Christina Farley, and her book is called Gilded, and it just came out last month, actually. I think it was last month, March. Yeah, okay, last month. And I really like this book because it's a good fantasy adventure pick, which I also love. It's about a girl named Jae-wha who is a Korean American, and she has actually moved back to Korea recently and finds herself smack in the middle of this Korean mythology where she's actually a part of it and doesn't know, and she's being pursued by a very powerful ancient god. It's very interesting. Okay, so 5 quick reasons why I like this book. One is that Jae-wha is one tough chick. She's sassy, she's funny, and she's spunky, and she doesn't back down from a fight, and I love that part. Reading this book is almost as good as traveling to Korea. Not quite. I mean, obviously going there would be better, but it really gives you a sense of the country and the mythology and the culture. And so I felt like I was sort of steeped in all things Korean while I read, and that was really cool. It makes me want to visit the country now for real because it was just really authentic, and you could tell that Christina did a great job of researching this book. I also love that this is sort of one of those YA books that could really go between middle grade and YA, which is great for me because I have a daughter who is almost 12, and so it's the perfect kind of read for her. It has romance, but the romance isn't too intense. It also has tons of adventure and tons of action, and then there is violence, but it's of the Percy Jackson variety, which is kind of what she really digs. It's this sort of high adventure kind of story, and she loves that, and I really enjoy reading those kind of books with her. So I'm a sucker for any book that I can find that I can read with my daughter. I also loved all the mythological characters in this book. It felt fresh because I'm not as familiar with Korean mythology. And so for me, it was really interesting to see the differences and the similarities with Korean mythology as opposed to, say, Greek mythology. And I found that part really new and exciting, which I loved.
Okay, Mickey, so you ready? I know, yeah. Today, I'm glad to get out of the dark wood. I go through the wooden gate and stand on the cobbles in the lane behind our house, head bent and lightheaded. Oh, are you all still here? I'm not doing anything at all. He likes a good book, that just like the rest of us. So enjoy. And if you've got any good books to recommend to me and to Mickey, please let us know.